Right, okay, so let's dive in. Picture this. November 91, you're expecting, I don't know, Chinese food, and bang, knock on the door, it's two Secret Service agents. That was the reality for Jason Snitker, the Parmaster, as he was known. Amazing handle, by the way, handcuffed. Paraded right through the World Trade Center. Just imagine that scene.
Yeah, and what's really striking is what they asked about, right? Their focus wasn't the huge Citibank thing, the hack that kind of made him infamous, involving millions. No, they zeroed in on a defense contractor, TRW. And that name apparently had been hanging over him for years. That's why he'd been on the run for, what, 2.5 years?
Exactly. So this deep dive, it's about that whole journey. How this kid hacker from Salinas, California goes from fugitive to eventually, defending the very kind of systems he used to crack. And the real question for you listening is, how does that happen? How does that outlaw skill set become, well, essential for defense? Snitker's story is just a fascinating case study for that. So after the arrest, things get even wilder, right? He's in custody. We're talking the Tombs, Rikers Island in New York. Not exactly five-star accommodations. And there's this crazy story. Apparently he's playing Dungeons and Dragons with a serial killer who then tries to choke him. Seriously intense.
Yeah, I mean, harrowing stuff, a real trial by fire, you could say. But the legal side is where it gets almost unbelievable. His lawyer, Richard Rosen, he found something. A mistake. An incorrect birthday on the official paperwork. So Snitker pleads guilty, but in juvenile court. The catch. By the time sentencing rolls around, he's 21.
Right, okay. So how does that birthday, that age thing, actually get him out of serious trouble, legally speaking?
Well, under California law at the time, the juvenile court just lost jurisdiction. Once he hit 21, they couldn't sentence him. And crucially, double jeopardy kicked in. Can't be tried twice for the same crime. So they couldn't just refile it in adult court. Poof. Gone. He, famously kind of brushed it off later, saying he basically got a Fing parking ticket.
Just, wow.
Yeah.
A parking ticket for all that. That's incredible. So you'd think, okay, maybe he just vanishes after that close call, lays low forever. But no. That deep understanding he had, the stuff that got him into trouble, it actually leads him somewhere totally different. How does that pivot happen? How do you go from being the guy they're hunting to the guy they might eventually need?
Well, it wasn't like flipping a switch. It was more gradual. But those skills, understanding networks inside out, the protocols nobody else thinks about, system weaknesses, even the psychology of it, those things that made him, let's say, effective as an attacker, they're incredibly valuable for defense. He knew how attackers think because he used to be one. He could apply that adversarial mindset, but for good.
And we saw that play out very publicly, didn't we? The same guy who's running from the government because of TRW ends up working the DNC convention after the big 2016 hack, helping defend, a major political institution from a nation-state attack. What kind of insight does someone like Snitker bring to that situation that maybe a more traditional security expert might miss?
That's the key difference, I think. A traditional expert often focuses on known threats, patching systems, the rule book stuff, which is vital, of course. But someone like Snitker, a former black hat, thinks like the opponent. They anticipate the unexpected moves, the creative exploits. They might spot subtle signs others miss, understand the long game an attacker might be playing. It's less about just fixing known holes and more about understanding the mindset of the person trying to break in, like bringing a hunter's instinct to the guard post.
So thinking about this for you, our listener, what's the takeaway? It's more than just a wild hacker story. It really speaks to how expertise can come from, well, unexpected places.
Exactly. And it raises this fascinating question, maybe we can call it the Parmaster's paradox. How does someone who started out challenging this system, black hat, living outside the rules, understanding weaknesses from the inside, how do they become one of its most vital defenders, a white hat? How does that really rough, unconventional experience actually make someone uniquely suited to protect us from threats we can't even see yet? It's definitely something to think about, especially when we consider talent, security, and maybe even redemption in this digital age.